after the Sunday service. We would be, just congregating after the service and just hanging out.
Hello, I'm Jerry McKee, and this is a special here. Let me do this right here, and a couple of things there. It's not Monday. You're saying, oh no, Monday over again. I know sometimes Mondays can be hectic, but my Monday was actually pretty good because I was off work. So, per se off work, I still had the show. We're having a special show tonight. We're going to be talking to Rodger, is it Dowit?
Dowty.
Douted?
Dowty.
Doughty.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I butchered that up pretty good, and that's why I butcher up names all the time anyway. And he is running for county council in District 6, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got that right. And he's going to talk a little bit about his platform. We're going to find out actually who he is. A lot of times we don't know who the candidate is. We don't know the personality or the persons. And I know I've had Dr. Flood on here before, and so everybody pretty much knows who he is. But we're going to find out a little bit about Rodger and a little bit about his platform, some things he sees, and see things that that he can bring to the county. And so let me switch. Hold on a second, let me put this on this way right here.
But yeah, I moved here 2011 from Berkeley County, where I'm originally from.
Okay.
All right.
You're from Berkeley County?
Yes, sir. So I grew up down there. When I was coming up, how we ended up there was, the Navy, shipyard, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people worked at the shipyard and the supporting facilities. And in the 90s, they shut all that down. So how I ended up here was the fact that when I graduated high school, there weren't any jobs really waiting for me. Like you could go work at, Burger King or something, but that was about it. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for good jobs. So what I did, like a lot of people did, we joined the military and packed our bags and off we went.
So you went to the Army, or?
I was Navy personally.
Navy?
Yeah.
Well, my nephew was Navy. He was on a submarine.
Ah, submarine.
Yes.
My father was on a submarine as well.
Yeah, and he got out for that MO and went into the medical field of it, and where the Navy paid for it, and now he's doing very well from all the training that the Navy's done.
Navy does great training.
Yeah.
Fantastic training.
Now, how long was you in service?
I was in service for 6 years. During that time period is when we started the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War.
Wow.
So I got to see action in both of those. Naval action, granted.
Right, but still action there.
Yeah, I was on an aircraft carrier, and our purpose was to launch airplanes and put bombs on target for the land troops whoever they were, what Marine, Army, whoever it was.
Right.
I was there, and two of my brothers.
At the same time?
Yes, so there were three of us at the same time. So my one brother was in the Air Force. He was a pilot, officer. My other brother, he was also enlisted like myself. He and I were actually on the same ship. And so you remember the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Exactly.
And the Sullivan Brothers?
Yes.
Well, because of that, there's a rule. So you have to actually sign a lot of paperwork to be on the same ship.
Wow.
Or to be in the same brigade or stuff like that. Like, there's actually a lot of paperwork. So we had to sign a bunch of paperwork to be on the same ship together. And but anyway, he was with the air wing and I was with the ship's contingent. So I was down below and he was up top. So
But you're still on the same ship. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My wife's family, her uncles and all, and her dad, and they were in service, and all 7 brothers were in the same branch and same service at the same time, which don't happen no more, I don't believe.
No.
Now, gosh, can you still hear from those aircraft taking off? I mean, were you down there where the aircraft landed and took off, or?
Well, where I was, I worked on the engines and a lot with the nuclear reactors and all that stuff. So we were down way, way below. We were in the bowels of the ship. So we didn't have to worry about the airplane noise. But we did go up topside many a time to watch him take off and land and all that stuff.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
But that's a long hike upstairs.
Oh, what's the height?
So going down, it goes down to the 7th deck. And then you're pretty much like 10 feet above the water because of the bilges and the tanks and ballast and all. Going up, it goes up to I think it's 09 or 010 level.
Wow.
That's a lot of staircases. It'll make your thighs burn.
Well, I've been on a cruise ship and I've had several flights to go down, steps to go down in it. And I said, wow, I can imagine going up and down like that. So you work on the engines itself?
Yeah, so we worked engines, we produced the water, electricity, all of the essential infrastructure.
Wow.
So they couldn't launch planes without us because we moved the ship through the water, which put air across the wings and the flight deck. The launching mechanism, you see them in the TV and movies, and they launch the plane, you see all that steam coming up?
Right.
That's our steam. We produce that.
Wow.
And so we have to send it up top, and they actually have to make changes to the reactors and stuff to be able to supply the right pressure, the right amount of steam flow, all that stuff to make sure they can launch planes.
So you were basically in the maintenance of the whole ship?
Yeah, primarily.
Primarily.
Yeah. There was a secondary group that did like water heaters and water fountains and stuff.
Right.
But we're like the water company and the electric company.
Right, on the ship. Wow. So they don't pay you good salary, they cut it off, right?
Yeah. There were some instances.
Now, was you out to I know we talked about this other stuff here, but I'm intrigued about being on the ship like that. How long would you be out to sea?
Well, if nothing goes on, a typical cruise would be 6 months overseas through the Mediterranean, Arabian Gulf, places like that. During war, though, it could be extended. So in one case, not us, but there was another case where a ship had done its 6 months cruise. It was heading back to San Diego, and something went wrong with another carrier group. So they couldn't make it. There was, for whatever reason. We're not going to get into that. That's not relevant. But the point is, they had to turn around and go back and serve another, I think, 8 months. And then they got to go home. So they were gone for almost 14 months. Wow. And that was, I think that was Afghanistan when they had to do that. That was towards the end of my tenure, and I was getting ready to get out.
Okay. So when they go on like that, I guess do they fly in with helicopters bringing provisions, the food and your water or whatever you drink there? I mean, is it because I can imagine that being out that long, they have to bring supplies in.
Yeah, sometimes things got a little slim, but what we would do typically is we would pull alongside another ship, a supply ship, and we'd do an on-ret. And so what they would do is they'd shoot lines across, and then they would have this mechanism that they could lift and lower to move material between the two ships, whether it be missiles, whether it be provisions like food, clothing, or anything else that we might need, or parts You know, a lot of times we were ordering parts. Sometimes they got to fly those things in, depending on the sensitivity of the part.
Right.
Then there's also fuel. So they said they would sometimes bring a line over, and they would pump fuel over to us for the planes, because we didn't need fuel for the ship. We just needed fuel for the planes. So all the other ships in the fleet would pull in. They'd have to load up on fuel and stuff and come back out to sea. We could stay out to sea for extended periods of time because of our capability to replenish ourselves at sea.
It's almost like having a QT out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, pretty much. So those were kind of stressful, because when you're alongside another ship, you're very close to each other, and one wrong move and you can damage each other severely. So usually, you know, we couldn't change shift. So if you're on shift and they start an on-rep and you're done with your 5-hour watch, you might be on watch for 3-4 more hours, because they don't want to change anything.
Right.
Because they're scared they're going to cause a problem.
Now, how many hours you normally, I mean, right here we're looking at 8 hours. How many hours you normally worked, or what was the longest that you had to?
That's a highly variable situation. It partly depended on manning. So we had a lot of different shifts. Our most typical shift was a 5 and 15. So that's 5 hours on watch, 15 hours off. But during that 15 hours off, if it was daytime hours, you had cleanup and maintenance work to do for about 8 hours. So you could, depending on, like, if you got lucky, you were on watch during that. So you can't do any maintenance when you're on shift. So you would pull the lucky straw on that one. But then again, your next shift might be 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So yeah.
So it's not your typical day. So you used to working hard, long hours, and I tell you, working on the things that you worked on, it had to be right, and everything had to work. You had a lot of men on that ship that depended on that. Now, what do you do now?
So currently, I'm working at Union Medical Center. I'm one of the maintenance men there. Like, for instance, this month I got to take down one of the boilers, tear it down, and we're doing an inspection on that with our insurance company and all that. But I also work with the chillers, the emergency generators. I also go upstairs and help the other staff with everything from toilets to light bulbs. So we do a little bit of everything.
Wow, that's, you know, well, I figured you was going to be in maintenance, and and that's another place that depends on all this stuff. You know, because they got medical things that's going on, emergencies and all that, and they can't afford a life to be shut down.
No, not at all. And even since I've been there, there's been instances where we want to do certain kind of maintenance, like on the emergency generators, and they say, hold on, we got someone in the ER. Let's get them on ambulance, or let's get them this situation before you guys do this thing, because what if the power goes out? You know, every once in a while the power might blink or go out. We had power go out for 45 minutes one day.
Wow.
And fortunately, the hospital has 2 feeds. So the hospital switched over, but pediatrics across the street lost power for 45 minutes. We were okay because we had our secondary feed. So that
happened just the other day, didn't it?
Yeah, this is very recent.
Yeah, because I was live streaming a ribbon cutting at the restaurant kind of downtown there, and I noticed going through there, it says, at 176 there was no stoplights, and they come on into town. I said, this ain't good, no stoplights here either. And they didn't have any, and somewhere else they didn't have it too. It was a big outage.
Yeah, I heard different versions of the story as to the cause of it, but really it doesn't matter. The good thing is they got it back up in a fairly timely manner.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah,
I was surprised they got up that quick.
And having made power and distributed power and water and other things on the ship, you know, we were a floating city, and
right.
Having been a part of that, you know, I have the unusual advantage of having been keenly aware of things that are infrastructure related and how it affects me. So how much the power goes out at my house, whether it's a blink or for 45 minutes, matters to me. When I used to live out towards the Buffalo way before I moved into the city, and every storm that rolled through seemed like our power went out. But we were at the very, very end of the power grid for that provider.
Oh,
So
okay.
like, a couple of properties over, it was I think it was Duke maybe, I don't remember, but
Right.
whoever it was, we were right on the edge, so we can understand, being on the edge is a little hard to have like duplicity and able to provide more than one power source.
Well, we've been pretty good down in this area. We have Lockhart Power, and and it's pretty stable, and they're pretty quick about
Yeah.
getting out there. So you got out of service, and now you and almost doing the same thing you did in service.
Pretty much.
And
Yeah.
now I see you from the live streaming of the Union County Council. I won't be there this month because I'll be in Nashville because they kind of switched to Tuesday till
Yeah.
the next following Tuesday.
Well, yeah, they had to move it for the
Election.
primary. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of primary, and I see you there all the time just as a citizen, you
Yes.
know, and I really like that. Matter of fact, I think I mentioned to you a while back, something like this, well, why don't you run for something, you know?
Yeah.
And because you're there. And to me, I wish more citizens would be aware. And of course, now they can watch it there, but they need to get on the agenda if they don't like something. If they want to voice something, they just got to get on the agenda, and it's fairly easy to do. And because you've done it, because you had some concerns about some things.
Yes.
Because you can't just jump up and say, "Hey, I got a question." It didn't work that way, does it?
Yeah, they have to maintain order, obviously, but that is something that if you're not there, you can't say anything at all.
Right.
You know, but even still, even if they do vote on something and we don't like it, we still have to wait and maintain the order and decorum and all that. And then after the meeting, you can still go talk to your council member, or you can ask questions to people. Because once it's over, they're open to whatever. And so I've spoken to some of them at times after the meeting and asked them questions and stuff.
Right, and that's a perfect time because you got you got them right there. Usually, all the county councils are there most of the time.
Yep.
And so in your district, you know who it is, who's not. You can find out right then. And like you said, after the meeting, like some said, well, ask about it. Why has this changed and stuff.
Right.
And my question is actually for you too is, what made you decide that you want to be on the county council?
Well, probably the deciding factor was last year's budget. And I saw the budget. I looked through, all the line items that I could understand. Some things seem a bit ambiguous. Some things it's hard to understand why until you have to dive deeper, because of some monies are sourced and by law they have to be spent a certain way.
Right.
And so, not to get into that detail at the moment, but I'm just saying, there's just a lot of, that's where some of the why comes in. Like, why do they do these things versus those things? And so they raised the tax last year. And I'm kind of a Milton Friedman fan. And some of his proteges are people like Steve Hanke and Art Laffer, who worked with the Reagan administration. I was just a little, toddler back then, but you can still go online and learn. And these guys tell you, you raise the tax, you stifle economics, the flow of economics, because when you take money away from people, businesses or people, they don't have as much money to spend. And especially at a time where inflation was really taking off. I mean, I think that year it was like it peaked out at 9% or something like that, right around the time that they were passing this budget. And they're saying, we need this money. And I'm like, but there's things in the budget we could trim. And there were people trying to do that on the council, and some of it passed, and they cut some things, and some things didn't. But we had the triple threat last year. We had school board raise tax,
Right.
city council raise tax, and then I had the county council raise my tax. So that's 3 different ways from Sunday. And they like to say, well, if we raise the tax, it's only going to affect you $20 for every $50,000 of value. Okay, but if you do that, and they do that, and they do that, now I've got $60 of value. So it adds up very quickly, and that's only for the first $50,000. So if your house is worth $150,000, now you're paying $240 more. So it adds up very quickly. It impacts people's wallets. Some people are more limited income than other people, and it affects them more. I'm okay, but that doesn't mean everyone's okay.
Right.
And there are other people going through struggles. I know people going through divorces right now and separations. And when you're
All single parent.
and you got a
families.
single parent home, and she's your mom's trying to pay rent, your dad's not in the house anymore, and she's got 2 kids, and it changes the economic dynamic, and then taxes go up.
Well, we see the economic impact, especially here lately, that how an acre of land has gone up just outrageous. Rent just way up, when it used to be able to rent like $450 or $500, and for a nice dwelling, now you're going to pay $1,200, $1,000.
Yeah.
But your salary doesn't go up that much. And people don't realize too, when they talk about your wages and minimum wage, well, we just raise it up. Well, the only thing that's going to do is going to raise prices up, because the people that hires them got to raise up their product prices.
Yep.
And I remember I used to get, and I don't stop, very rarely do I stop at a fast food place anymore. It's because, one thing, I go in, if I get a drink, fries, like that, $10, $11, and it really ain't that good. The product's not even good.
Yeah.
And so I kind of quit doing that, just for that reason, because I think it's kind of ridiculous. And somebody says, "Oh, you're old and you just got the old prices." No, I'm looking at the old prices, yes, but also balancing the two out. And I know that you've had probably a lot of people coming to you, since they understand you're going to be on for council, to ask you a lot of these questions that affects their livelihood.
And that's one of those things. I've heard a lot of people talk about the cost of food. In fact, I saw a thing on Fox Business today, and they were discussing on Cavuto about the fast food situation. And they said, of the 3 levels of food, you've got fine food, what's the other one? Casual food, casual dining, and then you've got fast food. They said the other 2 are fine, but a lot of people are leaving the fast food category. They're either eating at home or they're moving to casual food, because they're like, well, if I'm going to pay this much, I might as well sit down and have a steak dinner.
Have somebody wait on you.
You're right.
Right.
Make it worth the money I'm spending. Yeah.
And I've been monitoring hours. We go out to eat, because just 2 of us and our family, we goes out to eat, and about every Friday we get together to do that. And we know that with tipping out, we're going to spend $40 to $50 for 2 of us to go out and eat.
Yeah.
We know that, and it's going to be with, and seeing the restaurants that we go to, we don't go to the highfalutin restaurants. That's just we do that, it'd be about $200. But looking at that increase over just over a year or 2, that's been way out there. And I tell her, I said, we used to go here and get it for $25 for 2 of us. Now it's doubled. Yeah. And so we cut back.
And then on top of that, I mean, you look around town, a lot of the local small businesses, how many of them are struggling? I mean, Kirby shut its doors. Hart's has recently shut its doors. You've got Gene's Fine Foods has shut down. You have 2 of them for sale. I mean, some of these people that are running these things, they're getting older, and they're looking to retire possibly. And in other cases, they just can't get the workers, or the costs of operating have just gone up that much.
Yeah, well, you got Andy's that's for sale, and you got Buffalo Seafood.
Yeah.
And this is homegrown people that's had these restaurants for a long time, and maybe they just getting kind of tired of the battle.
Yeah, it's always an uphill battle with inflation, and it hurts everybody the same way. And that's why when I see them raise the tax, it's like people are already down. And I told the council, I said, why are you going to kick people when they're down? If they're already hurting from inflation, now you're going to hit them with something else, another level of inflation, as it were, because now they're going to have to pay even more for that. And then when they reevaluate houses, that can hurt people. In Charleston, there was an old lady. She was 70-something years old. People built these right big houses on either side of her. And so what ended up happening was because they reevaluated the property, they said her property was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and she ended up having to go back to work just to pay the taxes. So what you end up with is this can hurt even older people that are retired, or people that are single families where they're trying to pay rent, and if the land is worth more, and the landlord decides they need more rent to help cover the taxes or mortgage or whatever repair costs because everything's gone up. Now you're in a situation where the landlord's going to want more money because he sees opportunity, so he can either kick that person out and get someone else in there that'll pay more money, or he can keep you there, but you're going to have to pay more. And so this hurts people that rent as well. And these effects don't hit right away, but long term it will have an effect, and these things do take effect. And it's on top of the immediate problems like gasoline costs and the cost of food and the immediate day-to-day stuff. And although things like electric and water have been stable here in Union, we have to consider like how much longer they're going to be stable. Because with the growth in Spartanburg, like in Woodruff, they're saying they're having trouble getting enough water and electricity. And so now they're looking at extraordinary measures because they've overgrown that infrastructure.
They have a lot of housing that's come into that area along with BMW being built.
And there's different levels of government that did that. So they're building a new school. So that's one part of government, that's the school system. You've got the county bringing in the BMW plant, and then you've got the local town trying to bring in the housing. So everybody's doing something different. So they didn't all communicate. They don't all work together cohesively with the county planning commission or whomever to coordinate that kind of a situation, and ends up everyone's just doing their own thing, and then they look at the power capability and they're like, sorry, we don't have enough.
Right. I know we got the housing coming here in Union, which will bring more people here.
Yeah.
And my concern is a little bit about is that, okay, we're bringing more people here, but yet we're seeing some businesses closing.
Yeah.
Yes, we've gained some big business, and hopefully they'll be staying here. But it's almost like the mom and pops local businesses is the ones that's really struggling to keep afloat, and a lot of times the rent going up, the light bill going up, the city and county taxes, because you got both. Yeah. That if you're in the city limits, then you're really double dipping, right?
Yeah, and you got business permits and everything else. And another thing with this growth is, everything grows, not always all at the same time. And so you have to consider, like, how are we able to process people through the courts and stuff? Because you got to have police, and they want to put more police on the streets. But if we're not properly dealing with the criminals as it is, or we're not taking care of what we have, if we expect